Time for Focus. Today we have a report on the escalating humanitarian crisis in South Sudan. Nearly half the population of the world's youngest state face food shortages, the UN declaring a famine in some parts earlier this year. South Sudan plunged into civil war in 2013, just 2 years after independence. Marc de Chalvron and Josh Vardy report.
These lands belong to one of the poorest and most isolated countries on earth, South Sudan, where an ongoing conflict and humanitarian crisis continues to attract little attention. It's noticeable as soon as you arrive at the airport. The road is littered with ominous signs, parts of an aircraft, abandoned vehicles, and the ruins of a burnt-out church. The small town of Bentiu in the north of the country has been disfigured by 4 years of war. 1/3 of all South Sudanese people have been displaced by the violence.
That's the price to pay for this terrible war. Everything has been affected.
Just after celebrating its independence, the youngest country in the world fell into a cycle of civil war and ethnic violence. The region of Bentiu is where some of the earliest clashes took place. Since February, the state has been declared to be suffering from famine. Most people in the region have converged here, the giant Bentiu refugee camp, which is under the protection of United Nations troops. When they arrive, many are on the verge of starving to death.
Yeah, these are some of the children who has come to attend for nutrition services. Every day, there are new people coming, there are new admissions.
Kiligao Kumu runs the UNICEF Health Center, which looks after malnourished children. This is the front line of the famine ravaging South Sudan. Today he's received this 2-year-old boy who weighs just 5 kilos, the weight of an infant.
And physically, you can see that he has the cardinal sign of severe kid malnutrition, visible ribs, and then the thinness, the redundant skin.
The child is also showing signs of tuberculosis. His older sister brought him in. She says they left their village 5 months ago and traveled over 500 kilometers to get here.
There was nothing left to eat. We were eating water lilies. There was nothing at all. That's because of this war. Our village was about to be attacked. We left just before.
We have many cases like this. Yeah, we do.
The population is starving due to the war. The United Nations estimates that 100,000 people are currently suffering from famine in the Bentiu region. In only a few years, this refugee camp has become the second biggest city in the country. 120,000 people live here now, 60% of them minors. Young people manage to play football at the end of the afternoon, and life seems almost normal here. But almost everyone carries a tragic tale. Like Regina Allen and her 1-year-old daughter, who reached here 2 weeks ago. She says she saw her 2 brothers killed right in front of her.
I also saw soldiers of the government rape a pregnant woman. When I saw that, we ran away, and thanks to the grace of God, we were able to get here. In the village, I couldn't feed my infant anymore. We normally worked the fields. We had food, but since the fighting started, we couldn't do it anymore.
The malnourished little girl has been able to eat again for the first time in 2 weeks, slowly getting back her strength.
For more on this, I'm now joined from New York by Stéphane Doyon. He's the head of the South Sudan unit at Médecins Sans Frontières, or Doctors Without Borders. Hello, thank you very much indeed for your time. So, first of all, just to clear things up, the main reason that South Sudan is facing this food crisis is because of the fighting there.
Exactly. I mean, it's the fighting. You know, the fighting and the violence has displaced 3.6 million inhabitants in an estimated population of 12 million. So 1 every 3 or 4 inhabitants is being displaced. So that show, I mean, the tremendous effect of the war. And the particular situation, which is very bad, is for the population that are still being displaced in situ where war is happening, when they could not get outside of the country or in a safer area, and where they are still in the area where combats are going on, because it's difficult for them to crop. They are in a constant situation of displacement, so in a very hard situation for survival. And we see in our programs, I mean, basically more malnutrition that we used to see in the previous year, but also there are other issues like, for example, cholera in the north of South Sudan. So the situation is quite bad for the population living in northern in South Sudan today.
So for those that you're able to reach and able to help, what is Médecins Sans Frontières doing in South Sudan?
So, I mean, we are doing quite much. We have 15 programs in different parts of the country. So there are some places where we do run hospital, other where we try to reach the people doing a mobile clinic or assisting displaced people. The situation is quite different according to the place of the country you are speaking about. So, but there are tremendous needs everywhere we see. So we are delivering lots of medical activity. For example, the first quarter of the year, we did over 270,000 consultation, more than 1,000 surgeries, and so forth. And the situation of malnutrition is quite different according to where you are speaking about. We, as far as we see in the field, we didn't see a famine as such where adults will be on the verge of dying, but we do see in some part of the area where fighting is going on some increment of malnutrition rates.
Now, like you say, that famine has only been, it has been declared in just parts of the country. What difference has that made in the last few months? Has it made any difference in terms of raising awareness or raising funds particularly?
I guess in the outside world, certainly, because I mean, if you use the word famine, it's mobilizing more attention. On the field, as I said, in the particular area where we are, we see a very bad situation for the population, but not, I mean, a famine as such. And it did not change much. I mean, there are still problems of access. A lot of the problem of the population is access, whether they can access the air delivery or whether we can access them due to insecurity and fighting. And I'm afraid this has not changed that much in the areas that are the most affected in the country.
Is it just fighting that's preventing you from accessing those who need help, or is it also the authorities not making your job any easier?
I mean, for us, it's more fighting and the security aspect, where I mean, it's difficult to put also your team in danger. So we were not, let's say, barred from accessing some specific areas. Unless there was some fighting and some things going on. So, I mean, as far as MSF is concerned in the different area, we have not experienced as such some heavy blockage from the authority as far as now.
All right. Well, we really appreciate your work there and your time today for Focus. Thank you very much indeed to Stéphane Doyon.